Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for checking out another episode of Dirt Road Therapy. I'm John, and today we're getting up in this rooftop tent from OPENROAD. I'm going to tell you all about it.
Full disclosure, guys, you are watching a video on a sponsored product. However, my agreement with the manufacturer is, if this tent sucks, I will tell you. I am not being paid to give a 5-star review, so keep that in mind as you watch this video.
So my initial thoughts on this tent are, it's fantastic. 2 thumbs up. I was a little bit hesitant at first about, kind of a new tent on the market. Is it going to be good? It's priced a little bit below some of the competitors. It's very similar to a lot of the options out there that have just kind of come out over the previous season here in 2023. But I am absolutely loving this tent. I've never owned a rooftop tent before. However, I have used several and have not been overwhelmingly impressed with a bunch of different things. And so we'll get into some of the things about this tent that really impressed me, some things with previous tents I've slept in that maybe were leaving a little bit to be desired. And in a future episode, we're gonna compare this to one of the new tents from iCamper. So definitely make sure that you're subscribed and getting notified to get episodes in the future about this tent versus some others. The tent is really easy to set up. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I want to show you first getting the ladder set up for this. It's a standard ladder, comes in a nice, sturdy, very durable bag, nice zipper. So, you can choose to keep it in this bag or not, but it's nice, if you got a little dirt on the feet or on the rungs from your feet, you can tuck it in that bag and throw it in the tent or in the back of your vehicle and not worry about the dirt transferring everywhere. So the way I like to set this ladder up is to start from the bottom. The height of my vehicle, I need usually all but the top. And you don't want the ladder to be pulling down on the vehicle when you're standing on it. So you also don't want the ladder angled way out where it's gonna be more like a bridge than a ladder. So that's about perfect for me there. And any adjustment from me standing on it sinking into the dirt or anything else is going to be taken up by this top one not being locked in. You can tell that one's not locked. Those latches are still pressed in a little bit, whereas all of these are fully out. So it's totally locked in. And while we're talking about the ladder, let's just talk about closing it up, because my favorite way to do that is really simple as well. Watch your fingers, but you do have these stops here to keep you from pinching your fingers. If you grab it and press both of these levers, the ladder just kind of collapses itself, and then you can do the Velcro to make sure it doesn't slide apart. Let's talk real quick about some of the accessories that come with the tent. They give you this nice bag. This is really high quality material. I actually just noticed, literally at this moment, that it has kind of the piping in it that would allow it to slide into the track for an awning. Doesn't quite fit in that T-track for the sides of the tent there, but it has clips which would allow you to snap it onto either the ladder rung holders or the latches that close the tent. And like I said, this is a really quality fabric. Nothing about this bag that feels cheap. It's got a mesh bottom to it. Hopefully you can see right through that. So it's going to sift out any sand and things like that. And this is really designed for a place for you to put your shoes. To put your shoes in there, maybe flip-flops in the pouches. These are front pouches mesh, the back one is not. Just take your shoes, you put your socks in here even, and keep that on the outside of the tent where you're not taking up space inside, you're not bringing dirt inside, or maybe some stinky shoes. So that's a really nice feature that they include with the tent. The poles for the fly also come with their own little bag, which is nice, but there's an LED light bar inside the tent, which has 3 levels of brightness, just comes with a USB plug. I ran it on the lowest brightness. Whenever I would set this tent up around dark, I would turn that light on. So for 3 nights, I ran it off like a 10,000 battery bank, and it still has full charge. I mean, it shows 4 bars. Talking about the quality and fabric of the tent, this is the thing I was most concerned about from a new brand on the market here, this tent. 2 things that I was most concerned about: the fabric quality and the zippers. So this trip in particular, I'm out here with my son. He's 9, and you know, boys get a little bit rammy sometimes, and I wanted a tent where he was able to just go get to bed whenever it was time and not have to have me feel like I needed to be babying the zippers to give him access to the tent. I have full confidence that he's not going to bust these zippers out, because I can open this zipper part way and I can just pull the fabric to open the zipper the rest of the way. And you know, a kid is probably going to do something like that. So, you know, as adults, we want to do that. A kid's not going to care. They're going to do that. So the zippers, definitely 10 out of 10. This mesh fabric for the screens seemed really, really durable. It's not overly thin. It's not overly thick. It's really tightly woven, so you're not going to have, you know, small mosquitoes getting through there. And the fabric itself is nice, heavy nylon. It's coated on the inside, so, you know, any condensation that gets on there is going to drip down. I feel like it's almost better to have a tent waterproofed from the inside than the outside. The one night we had a little bit of rain. Rainfly kept it off of the tent beautifully, but my son got in here and closed all the windows, every single one. There's vents and there's windows. And I didn't realize that. I came to bed, you know, about an hour after he went to bed, and discovered in the morning, well, halfway through the night, that everything was closed up. So there was like condensation dripping down. There was no airflow. We were it was stifling in there. So that really is a good thing, that the inside of the fabric is kind of more waterproof than the outside, and that any condensation that builds up in there is going to run down the walls and not absorb into the fabric. So, you know, this is protected from the rainfly out here, unless there's a real driving rain or misty rain. So again, fabric, I give it like a 9 out of 10. I can't really think of a way it could be better, but I'm sure it could be a little better. Zippers, I can't think how you could possibly ask for a better zipper on this tent. The rainfly seems very effective. It would be a little bit nice if you could have this, you know, maybe pushed away from the tent just a little bit, but you know, that's kind of to be determined. I haven't had it in a real heavy rain to know if that's going to try to run down on the fabric. But you've got all this canopy space up in here, and I'll show you this now. There's a vent above the door and window here. So you've got 3 doors, windows. I slept in it last night with all 3 open, and it was really nice. It was about 66 degrees, 67 degrees overnight here last night, no breeze, and I was perfectly comfortable with just a blanket on top of me. I have been storing my bedding inside of this tent. That was kind of one of my criteria of whether this would be a tent I would fully recommend, because for me and my son going out on trips with the filming and stuff that I usually do when I'm out on a trip, I want bedding for both of us where we can just close it up and go. I don't want to have to be rolling up mattresses and tucking sleeping bags into stuff bags and putting away a wet tent. I can't have any of that when it's both of us out in the wild. So this definitely meets all those criteria. And when you go to close it, you bring this waistband up, you can tuck the fly into it, and that allows you to put it away even more quickly. Let's talk a little bit about the overall design of this style of tent. There's a couple of these out there now where they have this, you know, X hinge that allows the whole top shell of the camper to raise up rather than hinging it across the front. It opens really easily. These gas struts do the lifting work. Basically, you just have to get it started to open it, and it goes up with ease. What I love about this style of tent and the other hard shell aluminum tent that I've stayed in hinges across the front, and it's a little bit bigger tent overall, with a little bit more vertical to be able to do that. However, you're stuck putting your head at the high end of the tent, which is almost always going to be the back of the vehicle. You can put your head at either end in this tent. It is perfectly comfortable to have your head at the short end of this tent. So I really love that aspect of this design style because I can have my head at either end, and I can sit up and lay down comfortably without scuffing my head on the roof. And it really just works out perfectly in that regard. So that's a bonus for this style for me. I don't know that it has any more headroom than at the tall end than a style that hinges at the front edge there. But what I do know is that you have more headroom at the low end, that's for sure. Let me show you the inside of the tent next. We'll talk about the inside of the fabric a little bit more. I'll show you the vent windows, and you can see what I'm talking about with head and overall interior space here. This is the LED. It's operated by this little push button here that it comes with. Like I said, there's 3 brightness levels, and it just plugs in with a USB-A style plug into a battery pack like this. Battery pack is still showing full charge after running this, like I said, for 3 consecutive nights. Tent comes with this nice overhead storage organizer built in. Nice place to stick your phone, some reading material, sleep mask, anything that you kind of need ready access to when you're up here. The ceiling here has a little bit of insulation to it. Yeah, it's not just raw aluminum, that's stuck on there, and it's got a little bit of padding to it. Looks like the fabric would all zip off if you needed to remove this for cleaning or repair. And as I was telling you before, the fabric inside, it's all taped on the seams, all very much waterproofed on the inside here. You got the upper vent there. That's so close to the top of the rain fly that you could really just leave that open for ventilation unless you're really trying to heat it in here. You got the upper vent there. That's so close to the top of the rain fly that you could really just leave that open for ventilation unless you're really trying to heat it in here. This LED just velcros on, and there's a velcro spot for it on this side, as well as all the way down here at the bottom. So you could put more of those LEDs in, or you could move that one wherever you feel it works best. Also got a vent down at this end. This is the short end. Same style of vent window, nice screen. Got the ability to roll it up and have it stowed. So that's really nice. Plenty of headroom at the tall end here. There's enough room. You can see the sleeping bags are overlapped, so it's not quite a full 2-person wide tent. As long as you're close with the person that you're up here with, not going to be a problem. But like I said, head can go at either end. You've got maybe 14 inches at that end, and I don't know what that is, close to 4 feet at this end. I'm long in the torso. I've got plenty of headroom. So really loving this design of tent, more so than the type that hinges at the very front. I did mention that having bedding stored in the tent is a key feature for me, and this tent does that just fine. That's a full-size pillow from a bed at home. These are heavy sleeping bags. Yeah, this isn't super lightweight, super thin sleeping bag. It's not like we just have a thin fleece blanket up here. We slept in the most comfortable sleeping bags that we own, and we brought regular pillows from home to make us the most comfortable. It will close easily with these things in here, though you do feel it kind of compressing some of this stuff as you close it. Let me show you next how I close up the tent. First step for me, make sure the screens at least are all zipped closed. I don't necessarily need to make sure all of the windows are closed, or the doors are closed, but I want to make sure that they're at least folded up nicely and all the bedding is laid out as flat as it can be. And step one is to remove the stays from the rain fly. As I mentioned before, those come with a nice bag, so you can store these in the tent without it poking into a screen or messing up your bedding. And I just set that in there. I'm not really concerned about where that's going to go exactly. And from here, I don't want to tie this pole into anything, but we've got that elastic waistband. Bring that up. I'm going to tuck the rain fly into it. And if you're putting this away for a while, it'd be a good idea to kind of try to make sure that this is as nicely folded as possible so it's not all wrinkly when you pull it back out. You could also raise this elastic band up in the front. I'll go ahead and do that for demonstration purposes, but if I was popping this out again tonight to sleep in it, I probably wouldn't bother. All right, now we just kind of pull the tent closed. Once you get it down to where the gas shocks aren't trying to lift it anymore, tuck in that pole. Make sure the fabric's all the way tucked in. And close it down. Make sure there's no fabric sticking out anywhere but about around the seal. And now from here, it's just closing these latches. Oh, got a little bit of webbing from that pole sticking out there. These latches cam it down nice and tight. I've not seen any dust in there on the fabric at any time that I've opened this back up today, and we've been on some real dusty roads. You've got latches in the front too. So this is the biggest thing for me that I need to force myself to remember, is not only to close them, but to open them as well. And it can be a little bit hard to get to on this Jeep anyway. But those do a really nice job of cinching everything down. And one nice feature of this tent is that it comes with a built-in rack. I don't currently have a use for this rack, so I really don't have a great way to test it out. However, these crossbars are very substantial. They're your typical style of crossbar that you would get like with a Prinsu rack. They're not real far spaced apart, so that might be a drawback depending on what you're trying to put up here. But you do have the ability to either add two more or move these closer together. You could possibly spread this out differently if you wanted it in the front. Maybe you want some solar panels on here, whatever you're trying to do. But this rack would be great. I might see myself using this to mount some Rotopacks, some traction boards, something like that up here to be a little bit more of an official overlander. We'll see. See if I find a great use for that or not. But either way, it is nice that it is included and is easy to remove if you felt like maybe this is extra weight or wind resistance that you don't need on your tent.
Well, that's it for this time. Thanks everyone for watching and listening to my thoughts on the new tent from OPENROAD. At the point of this video being published, I've spent over a dozen nights in this tent in a variety of weather and temperature conditions, from rainy and windy to a little bit hot and sticky, all the way down into the lower 40s. And every night has been the most comfortable night I have ever spent outdoors. Now again, full disclosure, this is a sponsored product. However, part of my agreement with the manufacturer is that I am able to be fully honest and transparent with you guys. I'm not fluffing this up. I have not been paid to give a positive review of this tent. If it sucked, I would let you know, and it does not. Make sure you subscribe to get more content on this tent as we put it through the paces and check it out in all kinds of different weather throughout the winter, and even pit it up against some of the other tents similar to it. Thanks again, guys. I'll catch you next time.